Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. John Fryer, the CEO of Consumer Group, just got done presenting at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit. And before I jump on this much longer AT&T Analyst Day at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, I wanted to give you guys the updates and what I felt was important from this conference that just took place. So John Fryer again sounding very confident that the numbers are going to look good for the fourth quarter. They had a great Black Friday deal, and he says that the numbers are coming in as expected. So that tells us that they're going to hit their guidance and perhaps even exceed the guidance. So like I said, T-Mobile has hit their guidance for the past, I don't know how many years, maybe 10, 11, 12 years or so, maybe more. They have hit every single guidance every single year. So getting back into that postpaid range of what is it, five and a half in total. I mean, if they're gonna do 5 million every year, they're gonna surpass Verizon eventually as it pertains to the postpaid only count. The overall connections, that's still gonna take some time, but the most important part of where service revenue, ARPU, ARPA, where all that comes from is from the postpaid side. So I would say they're about another 5 years away from surpassing Verizon. Now, I know that's still a long time, but they're well on their way of doing so. And even he said they are very confident going into 2025. And we'll hear more at the Q4 earnings call what they have, in terms of guidance for next year, free cash flow, because stuff changes rapidly, right? Your 1 quarter is 3 months, so a lot can change within those 3 months, and they must have seen something to mention that at this conference. Another thing that he did mention in terms of the volume, the sheer volume and demand on FWA, they have 1 million people on a waiting list. 1 million that have checked their address, didn't qualify, and left their email so they can be notified in case their address does get qualified for the service. 1 million. I mean, it's when you have 1 million people that have that type of demand, that is numbers. The type of information and data that gives T-Mobile is from a business perspective is just great, right? So you have 1 million people that hey, how many of them have our wireless service? Okay, not many. Okay, how can we make a play on this to convert them? Right? Is this maybe the territory that we're building out the fiber in? Can we maybe invest just a little bit of capital to get those people on board, right? Because we all know they want to deliver a extra capacity model. But if you have 1 million people sitting in a queue waiting to go, you might make some changes here and there. That's just me. That's just me. That's 1 million people that you can possibly convert to wireless, home broadband. Who knows? Right. So if I look at that and say, hey, if we build a couple of more towers here, yes, we have to invest capital, but it's going to make it a better experience for our mobile users, and then we can sell these customers home broadband, I'm going to do it. But that's just me. And I guarantee you, adding a couple of more sites to fill some of those slots that are in the queue, it's still going to allow them to remain in that 9 to 10 billion capital envelope. They're not going to all of a sudden have to spend an extra 5 billion deploying a couple more cell sites to fill that demand. So I don't see that being the case. But if it was up to me, I would build a couple more sites, maybe put millimeter wave. They're testing that in Phoenix. We haven't heard the outcome yet, but I would assume it's going to go good for that specific purpose. So I would have to do it. You have 1 million people and possibly growing just sitting on a waiting list. Oh, I got to make it happen. And having those numbers and that data and that analysis is just huge for the business. and it allows them to look where they need to build as well, right? If they can build more sites, if it stays within the 9 to 10 billion capital envelope, they can say, look, we're going to build these sites out. We can invest. We don't have to spend more, and we can fill some of that demand for FWA. At least that's how I would look at it. So that's something that was discussed. And the next, a bigger portion of this was about small market and rural areas. He says they started this journey back in 2021 at a 13% share, which is very low. Now they're going to crush the 20% by the end of 2025. The market share is 20% that they guided. They're going to crush that. They are absolutely going to crush that. He didn't give any updates, but the last time they gave us an update, they were at like 17.5%. They have till the end of 2025. They guided 20%. They're going to crush that. I would say they're going to come in at 20, 22, 23%. And that's off of the back of building out that rural network. He touched on it briefly, 500,000 square miles they built out. They have more to go. Yes, they still have more deployments to do, but they've been building a ton of square miles in the rural environment. A large part of the initial 3-year investment for a post-Sprint merger it went to rural areas. So they still have more to go, right? If you look at Nebraska now, huge difference versus where it was in 2021 and today. They have almost that whole state covered natively. I would say today, 80% of it. So they have another 20% to build out, but now they can already start aggressively implementing their playbook. They can start building out retail, distribution. They can start slowly but surely growing their share in those markets while they deploy the rest of the other 20%. So huge success, according to him, in small market and rural areas. So they're still having to build through, right? That's something that I will acknowledge. They speak publicly. I will tell you guys they still have, I would say, arguably another 2 to 3 years to build. The U.S. Cellular is going to be a big part of that. That's going to take around 12 to 18 months to integrate. So that's going to grow the coverage. And then outside of that 12 to 18 months, I think maybe another year, maybe 2 of natively building. And then they're going to have quite a large network. I don't know how it will stack up to the competition at that point. But I mean, if they're coming in, let's just say, for argument's sake or debates, let's say T-Mobile comes in at 2.6 million at the end of this, and Verizon's at 2.7. AT&T claims it to be at 2.97, right? That, to me, if T-Mobile comes in at 2.6, maybe 2.7, they're going to be right there from a competitive perspective. They're going to be able to grow at 2.6, even at 2.6. T-Mobile's going to be able to grow anything that they want. If they want to grow more enterprise in the rural space, whatever, they can compete now for everything at 2.6. And then they still have SpaceX that just got approved to help with texting for now, but soon, eventually, as that technology evolves, you might be able to send data sessions and emails and stuff and make calls too in that environment. So that'll help too. So they're getting better each and every year. They're going to get better next year. They're going to get better in 2026, and they're just going to be more of a headache for Verizon and AT&T to deal with. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing from a competitive perspective. It keeps everyone on their toes. So it's a good job on that. Kudos to T-Mobile. But still got work to do. I will acknowledge, I've said it before, they still have work to do. Like I said, they still have another 3 or 4 years of straight build outs to really say, okay, we're comfortable. We have this coverage now that we can compete for anything. And in some parts of the U.S., they're probably already there. And that's why they're going so hard after these accounts, because in some of those parts, they have really strong coverage where they can say, look, we can cover you from here, from X, Y, and Z. We have the densification. You don't miss a beat. They have that now, but they still want to get to those other areas that they're lacking, and that's what I think is going to take another 3 or 4 years. So I think that's about everything that they covered. They talked about capital allocation, but they didn't really give any further details on what they talked about at the Capital Markets Day. So nothing new there. And outside of that, they really just pointed us to the Q4 earnings to get more color on the FY 2025 guidance. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.